Welcome, good afternoon. My name is Chris Armbruster. I'm the director at the AI Guild. And today we're going to be looking at Hello and welcome. Good afternoon. My name is Chris Armbruster. I'm director at the AI Guild. And today we're going to be looking at technical profiles. More precisely, we're going to be looking at technical profiles on a CV or resume, and how by including a technical profile, you have more and better career opportunities with such a skills profile. So I'm going to kick us off. If you would like, you can ask me questions through the chat function. I will see them and be able to respond and pick them up as we go. So, number one, I want to dive in with a specific example of a technical skills profile, explain what it is, and I'm choosing this example because the person with this technical skills profile got hired by one of the global leaders in the field of data and artificial intelligence. What you see here in front of you, of course, is the header technical skills, and right below the header technical skills, you see a list of programming languages, so to speak, things you're fluent with, Python, SQL, but then also actually graph query language, Java, and CI/CD. So this is sort of like a headline. What are you getting? What do I have like 5 years or more experience with? It can also be 3 years or 2 years, but it is something that kind of summarizes it at a glance and shows you what the relevant skills are. And then right below that, you see 3 further headings: data, machine learning, and document processing. I think this is interesting because it's specific. It's specific to this profile, and it kind of gives the thing a flavor. So under data, you actually see data engineering, data mining, and data analysis. So there's kind of like a package that focuses actually on making data available, on making data accessible, on getting a data infrastructure ready. Then there's machine learning with a clear focus on a few of the techniques, not everything. And then when it comes to neural network, please notice there's just one mention, the GNN, the graph neural network. And then the whole profile is focused actually on document processing. This is why this is the third point. So the real technical skills, all the experience comes together actually in being able to lead on data and machine learning applications when it is relevant to document processing, which makes this a highly specialized profile. And I think in this sense also particularly interesting for companies. And as I mentioned earlier, this technical skills profile presented like this led to a job offer and a signed contract with one of the top 3 firms in the world. So I'm speaking today for the AI Guild. The AI Guild is now 1,800 plus specialists in data analytics, data engineering, data science, machine learning, deep learning, NLP, computer vision, and ML ops. Why like this? Because it describes the major data roles in the field at the moment. Of course, you could also be a data manager or a database manager. You could be doing business intelligence. So there are other roles that are imaginable. And it's 1,800 specialists, most of them in tech, but some of them also in product and business, always relevant to the field. Now, I just spoke about the need to have a technical skills profile on your CV or resume. And actually, in our experience, there are kind of like 4 components of a CV or resume, and also of the way in which you present things on LinkedIn that make a difference. That make a difference when you're looking for your next opportunity, and you're presenting your portfolio. So the first one is the technical skills. The second one, however, is something around business skills, um, is something around organization skills. So showing how you're relevant to organizations and what they do. The third one is actually your data experience, and the fourth one is your professional mission statement. Today, I'm going to be focusing only um, I'm going to be focusing only on the technical skills. If you go to the AI Guild and you go to AI Guild web pages, you will find further information on the other elements. But today, this is this, and we'll get to the other ones over the coming weeks. So, why a technical skills profile? What does it do for your application process? Now, if you think about uh, applying, and you think about sending in your CV, or you think people are looking at your LinkedIn profile, they want to get things at a glance. They want to be able to make fast decisions. Think of it like this. So any firm that is advertising for a new position is, of course, hoping to get as many relevant applications as possible. Not just any application, but as many relevant. And of course, if you were the human resource department or the hiring manager, you would think, okay, I want 50, I want 100, I want 150, I want some real choice. Now, let's assume you've achieved the 100 or the 150. Then you're fairly soon overwhelmed. Even if you share the workload and it's like 2 to 3 people looking at this, they do have to look at a lot of profiles very rapidly to make some initial decision, interview, yes or no. This is the relevance of this technical skills section. It gets you considered for interview right away at a glance. If it's well done, that's the necessary condition. It needs to be well done. And then, of course, if it shows a fit, so if it's relevant to the company or the role that is being advertised. Therefore, it needs to be a component right at the top of your CV. It makes it sense on LinkedIn to stick it in the About section, your technical skills profile at a glance. You then, of course, need to consider what you include in it. And the example I showed you was fairly limited, but I think that's actually why it works. So you want to present confidently, and you need to be prepared to be tested on your claims. So you put it in, and then if somebody queries you or puts a test in front of you, of course, it needs to work. This is also why it makes sense to focus again your technical skills profile, because you indeed want to be clear about what it is that you bring to the table. Now, then, of course, what you do there should also match where you want to go. So there's 2 ways to think about this. Your technical skills profile, of course, includes your expertise, but it's perhaps sometimes not just your expertise, but also something new, something where you want to go, something that you've already started, a new direction you want to take. So consider, for example, somebody who's been doing a lot of machine learning tasks, but now wants to focus on NLP, so natural language processing. Could be documents, could be natural language, spoken language, whatever it is. And you're building up expertise in this. You want to show it. You could show it on your CV by, saying you have 5+ years of experience in Python, but behind NLP and some of the keywords you give on that, you say since 2021. Yeah, so you make clear that it's newer or fresher, but something like this. So your technical skills profile really points to your expertise, but it's also legitimate to kind of point out things that are developing and directions that you would like to go. And it's a profile section because you want it to work at a glance. So while you're now considering your LinkedIn profile or your CV, there are actually 3 questions that you need to ask yourself. So the first one is, which data role is your best choice? The second one, which domain or industry is yours? Perhaps the one you're in, or if you're only starting out, which one are you going? Is it finance? Is it health? Is it automotive? Is it education? Is it tech companies? What is it? And then perhaps also within, what what type of domain within a particular industry. So I don't know, if you do marketing analytics, for example, this is of course applicable through a variety of industries. Although, of course, if you do marketing analytics for banking and insurances and you're in the finance sector, then there are things you are learning about your company, your customers, that make you a domain expert exactly in that direction. And then what type of company do you want to work at? What type of company? So, are you the person that wants to work in a corporate? You want to work in a startup? And mind you, some of the companies that used to be startups are now corporates, or is it more in a consulting role? I'm going to look at these before we go on to watch more examples of technical profiles quickly for you. So, data role. Today, I just want to point out there's a difference between being a data analyst and being a data scientist, being a machine learning engineer doing NLP or computer vision, or being in the MLOps department, or maybe more on the analytics SQL database side. So you need to think about this. You need to think about where you are, also, again, where you want to go. And your technical skills profile needs to reflect that. Yeah. So it's no sense claiming on your CV, so to speak, that you are a machine learning engineer, if it is really clear that most of your expertise is in the analytics, and actually the past 3 years you've been doing a lot with, I don't know, Power BI and Tableau or Tableau or something like this. Yeah. So it really, your technical skills profile and the data role you're coming from and perhaps going to, this needs to match. It needs to be clear that this is solid. Now, industry, maybe you already have industry experience and you want to continue, then it's simple. Maybe you're new, or maybe you want to swap. You can use things like this. So this is a market map of startups in AI, to kind of go and have a look around to understand what type of industries would be interesting to you. This is particularly relevant if you don't yet know. If you already know, great, go for it. If you don't know and you need to do some research, use market maps around startups or market maps around AI, and you can put them into your favorite search engine and find these market maps, use them to get a sense of orientation and make a decision. Because data and AI is becoming more specialized, yeah? And companies expect you to have domain expertise. It's not just about, I can do the machine learning stuff. Machine learning for autonomous driving and machine learning for health applications and machine learning for fraud detection in banks are different things. And you need to understand where your journey is going. Number 3, this is more personal. This is more about you, So do you thrive in large corporates, or maybe you're somebody who says, I really don't like having to deal with, you don't want office politics? You can go remote. You can go to a fast-growing startup that simply doesn't have time for office politics and also isn't established so much. Or you can, for example, choose consulting, where you have project work and it's more flexible and you change clients, and that takes you away from having to handle too much office politics, for example. Or maybe you are really somebody that really likes thrives on fast-growing startups or thrives in small companies. You want a friendly workplace. So this is something that you need to consider, and I think you need to factor into your search. And really, it's about your job satisfaction and about your career growth and your long-term happiness, if you so like, in the career that you're pursuing. So these are the important things. What data role are you in? What's your domain? And what type of company do you want to work for? And actually, this has an effect on how you present your technical skills, or what your technical skills are going to be as you move forward and present this. So now I want to go back to some examples. I'm happy to have more questions through the chat interface here, please, if you like. I showed you a first example, so this is the next one, the next technical skill that I want to look at with you. So we again have here something where somebody is saying that they already have a significant number of years of expertise. Yeah, so 5 years in Python, 3+ years in some other programming languages. This includes Git as an indication of, I know what version control is, and I know how to handle it. And then if you look at the rest of the profile, so this is if you saw like a split profile, right? So there's the data analytics part. And then there's quite a lot of libraries or tools that this person is proficient in. Then we have machine learning. So data analytics and machine learning are, different. They're different kinds of beasts. As you perhaps know, when we talk about analytics, we're thinking about lots of data that is being analyzed, but it's being analyzed in such a way that people can make more intelligent decisions. So, it's the humans making the decisions. Whereas when we actually want the machine to learn, right, which means we again with data, but we are something that is automation or a recommender system or so on. So data science and machine learning is actually for the machine, obviously supervision, maybe there's unsupervised learning, but generally, of course, it's a difference whether you're writing a report or doing a presentation and trying to derive insights, or you're getting a computer system to do things automatically, based on data. So data analytics and machine learning can be quite different. Then this profile here actually, by including DevOps and then also IoT, makes clear that this person really is more on the side of engineering with hardware, getting algorithms to work that are connected to hardware. So this is a profile that could go into an industry, I don't know, like automotive, where you have a combination of hardware and software and all kinds of sensing technologies. Yeah, so your lidar or the radar or the cameras, and then if you have somebody that has this IoT machine learning competence, this is the kind of direction that this kind of technical skills profile exhibits. Let's look at another one. Let's look on another one on technical skills. Okay, so I have a question here that says, what about the entry level? So for more experienced professionals, it makes sense to focus more on the number of years they have. Yes, I agree. And what should entry-level data scientists or ML engineers focus on? Okay, so let's look at this. Something that I have noticed, and you can look at this also yourself. Something that I've noticed is that a lot of entry-level candidates these days actually come with experience. They come with learning or programming experience. So it is not uncommon for people to have been learning through online courses or doing their PhD or doing a master's degree or learning on their own or using books or something like this, and actually to have accumulated a year or two of experience with Python. And particularly with Python. So I remember that years ago, if I went to universities and I asked for a show of hands and I said, so who's using MATLAB? A lot of hands went up, okay? And there were other kind of software packages. So if you were in the social sciences, you'd probably be using SPSS. Anybody knows what that means. And then if you go around these days and ask, the hands go up with Python. And if you bring together a crowd of people interested in data careers, for Python, nearly all the hands go up. They may not have touched SQL, something you can learn a lot faster, but there typically is experience. So it actually does matter. And this is the thing. It now increasingly also matters at entry level. Of course, you probably won't have 5 years. Yeah. Also, it doesn't make any sense, but you will have a year or two, and they actually need to know. And then they need to know whether Python is the only or the main language, or there were other things you've done before in your life as a teenager, as a student, I don't know, one of the C languages. Did you do something, or did you have exposure to R? So it does actually matter right at the top. So my answer would be that for the entry level, you now need to show that you have experience. Yes, it may be learning experience or academic experience, but some experience needs to be there. Otherwise, you will find that companies will be rather reluctant to offer an interview. So much for that. Okay, so going back to what you're looking at the moment around technical skills. Yes, again, we have somebody with 5 years, but also note, for example, that SQL here precisely is listed as being from 2021, so being recent. Then in this particular case, there's more mention of Python, in particular Python libraries and tool sets. And this makes sense in this particular case because as part of an academic work, this person already co-published a Python software piece. And also, just as a general point, there with the tech, you need a skills profile. So you need something that you can take in at a glance. But there is no template. There's no one way of doing it. It just needs to suit you. It needs to show who you are. And I think this one again also does. So it gives a headline under technical skills, and then it talks about data acquisition and instrumentation, it talks about data processing, and it talks about data science. So, and this makes it, this makes it a profile again. So there's some significant programming experience. And then there is this capability to handle data acquisition and instrumentation. That's really increasingly important. It means that you know where your data originates from. Maybe you can generate it yourself. You know how to extract, transform, load. There are things you can do, and this then leads over into data processing and the ability to handle it and do something with it and get it ready, for example, for modeling. Yeah. So it's a profile that at the end does say data science, but it's a profile that makes a strong case for having data infrastructure, data processing skills, combined with a solid background of enough programming experience, that I think this is what makes this profile interesting. It doesn't here specify a particular domain or industry, but it would make it interesting for all companies that are fairly data heavy, and that are heavy in the sense that maybe there is a scientific domain or some sort of infrastructure or some sort of public data that they can relate to, and where this data acquisition and instrumentation is actually important. So data acquisition, for example, think about weather data or location data, and something that companies are doing and probably should do more of is, you may have your internal data sets that you're generating by way of business or by way of having customers or whatever it is, but actually looking at these data sets and figuring out how to enrich them with other data that is publicly available because it's open, or it's publicly available because you can buy it, makes a lot of sense. And then you really need somebody who's good in data acquisition and processing, to do something with it and benefit from this as a company. Next up, another one, much shorter. But it's not a particular length. This one is particularly compact, if you so like, and I think that's why it works. It just says here Python, R, SQL, Tableau, and Stata. So you can see there is a solid combination of programming languages, and Tableau actually, of course, is a tool. A solid combination that shows that there is broad expertise in terms of data. And data processing. And then it says data science, machine learning, and statistics and inference. So I'm going to start from this last one, statistics and inference. The examples I showed you earlier didn't have that. So if you're doing machine learning or data science, it does matter whether you have a background in statistics or not. It is not that for all roles in machine learning or machine learning engineering, you need to be a statistics whiz. But of course, there are ways in which that actually helps. There are ways in which that helps because, I don't know, you're doing the modeling. It sort of has some results. You're looking at the parameters and the fine tuning, but is the underlying statistics actually sound? Can you infer something from this? I mean, is this meaningful, or is this a spurious correlation, or it doesn't actually really mean a lot? So being able to having that background knowledge and being able to test and also judge things that you're doing is interesting. And then this additional power here comes from actually solid expertise in statistics, and I think that is actually really, really important and interesting for a lot of companies. And then looking here at the lines above, so with machine learning, this gives just 4 things: regression, classification, time series, and NLP. I think this is great because it sort of says, with regression, solid foundations, the basic classification as well. And then it kind of gives 2 options of things that you have experience with, i.e. time series or NLP. And it kind of, it shows your focus. It delimits it, true. So, there's no reinforcement learning, GANs, deep neural networks, or whatever mentioned here. But that's also precisely the point. So you know what this person is good at, and it helps a company that is interested in NLP or that has some classic machine learning applications to understand that this person is good at this, and also probably enjoys doing this and isn't, doing regression while waiting to do some cool neural network or something like this, because this is an issue for companies. So it's an issue like this, yeah. So you have practitioners that are hoping to work on the latest shit, and that's in some sense fine. Of course, technology is developing, but if this is not what the company has or is doing or is commercially meaningful for them, then having people that are really only interested if it's reinforcement learning isn't helpful. Yeah, you need somebody that is good at the classical machine learning so that they're content and the company derives value and it works for the company and the people around you and so on and so on. So this kind of skills profile, again, it's it signals to the company where you're coming from and what you're hoping to do. Here's another one. So technical skills, data analysis, data processing, data visualization. So up with the technical skills at the top, we have Python, we have Bash, shell scripting, then more specific things around Python, and even Excel mentioned. I think this is important. It's important because while you are, while as a data practitioner, you would think, okay, getting away from Excel is important. It's important for your data lake house, data lake, data warehouse, whatever it is, whatever concept you use. Yes, but nevertheless, of course, a lot of the data in a lot of companies is in Excel. So having solid experience actually makes a difference, particularly makes a difference to companies that are still using it or looking to transition away from it. So I think that's a good move. It's also a good move for this profile altogether in the context of the other things that I mentioned, so the data analysis, the data processing, and the data visualization, because this points, so to speak, to a solid skill set for analytics. Now, from the point of view of somebody really interested in guns, this may look a bit basic, but I think that this is actually not the right way to look at it, or not a helpful way to look at it. It's not a helpful way to look at it because many of the advanced technologies promise value, but a lot of companies are actually not really able or in a position to deploy them. And sometimes just already because they don't have the data infrastructure for that. And maybe also not the data. They're not actually yet generating the data for this type of technology. But they do have data, and they need to learn to generate more value from this. And then analytics is a good way of doing it. And particularly also analytics is a way in which you can help the whole company become more data literate and also the executives to become more literate. So human decision making, yeah, being able to go in front of managers, executives, perhaps even the board or something like this, and showing insights from data, then of course you would also need to show what difference it would make to the company to actually listen to the data, to be data literate, to take that more into consideration or actually base its decision making on it. For that, you really do need good data, and the processing needs to be sound and working at all times. But there's things there you can do that are really interesting, and I think also career-wise work well and help you and help the company. Next up is another example of technical skills. We have more Python, we have more Bash, we have SQL as well, for example. Some of this is new, some of this has been longer. Then again, in this case, another longer enumeration of Python libraries and tools. And then a focus on ETL pipelines, on processing, and on DevOps. Okay, so this is a profile that is data engineering, really. So the role that would come to mind is data engineering. It might actually say on the CV, I'm a data engineer, or I want to be a data engineer, and this is where this then comes from and matches. Yeah. So obviously, a core function of engineering is to build and maintain the pipelines, be it for batch processing or real-time processing. So you need those pipelines. They also contribute to your continuous deployment. And with the pipelines come the need for data processing. So ideally, of course, most things are automated. Sometimes they won't be, and you will have to do some manual data processing, or you're building a pipeline, so you have to build it up. So this kind of profile makes sense. And combined with DevOps, it sort of says, I have the software engineering skills and the software engineering interest to actually make this work. Yeah, to ensure that the pipelines that come out of this in your setup actually won't break down frequently, but will be up all the time. And this is really important. So we're going to look at some more, but I've gone over a number of profiles and would like to reiterate that there isn't a technical skills template that gets you hired. It's the other way around. You need to think about your specific skills. You need to understand what it is that you bring to the table, what your set is, and by really making sure that you show your set, that the other side understands very quickly at a glance what they're looking at, and what it is that you bring and what it is also that you're looking for. Yeah, because any search process, any application, any new opportunity should also contribute to your professional development. You'll probably feel this for yourself. And this makes then a lot of sense to combine in this technical skills section things that you have and perhaps also things that you're newer. And if you want to be straightforward about it, right at the top, for example, you can include things that you have 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and then say since last year, or since 2021 or since 2022, to kind of make this clear. And even when you are in certain kind of sections like the ones you're looking at here, ETL pipelines, data processing, or DevOps, you could, under one of these bullet points at the beginning, kind of name the year. So if you wanted to say that this is something that you acquired recently, you could start, with brackets 2021 or 2022, and then kind of list the specific thing you want to list here. So for example, not so easy with this one, but say version control with Git is something you've been doing regularly since last year, so since 2021. Or TensorFlow is something you've been doing since last year, so 2021. Something like this. The advantage of this is that if you think about the other side, so you have your LinkedIn profile or you have your CV, and you have a recruiter, a hiring manager, an HR department, somebody is looking over it. By really highlighting it like this, you make it easy for them to see at a glance whether your profile matches or your profile, and we're not talking about a perfect match. Your profile matches in the sense of being interesting, sort of, the thought that the other side would have is, I like this skill set. It sort of tells me that in this case, the person is good at data engineering. Actually, this is an area our company needs to improve in. Some of our pipeline, we don't, we have only 3 pipelines in production. We need more of those, or we have like 13 pipelines in production, but we've had trouble with 3 or 4. So you look at this and it piques your interest. There's something there that basically says, okay, I mark this profile, or I put it to a side, or I make a mental note, or whatever it is that you do, or I select it actually. I will rate it so and so, and this is going under further consideration. And as far as I can tell right away from this technical skills profile, I think we would want to interview the person. And that's really what you're hoping to achieve with this technical skills section. So a well-done technical skills section gets you more interviews, and on top of it, it gets you the right interviews. So it gets you interviews for positions where you are a qualified or the qualified candidate. And I think this is beneficial in all kinds of ways. So first of all, it helps you to actually match with companies that are looking for something that you have to offer. It should be good for your career. It also means that in terms of search time or applications that you have to do, the better you have this narrowed down, the more specific you are, the more targeted your search can be, the less search time you should need, the less times you would need to apply to get relevant interviews. Now, you may be thinking, of course, is this true for everybody? And I've heard that data engineers are particularly thought after, or there's a lot of movement in NLP. Yes, exactly. That, of course, does matter. And you can judge this for yourself. So you'd be looking at the market, you'd be looking at the market signals, and you would understand where the trend is going. I mean, one really over broad and overarching trend is specialization. So going forward, it's by data role and by industry. Yeah, it really matters in which domain you are because you need to understand your data better. Also, something that we've noticed over the past months is with data becoming more prominent, data is also going local. So data going local means that it will be in the local language. Of course, and this means that not just the rows and the columns, the labels are in the local language. If it's NLP, for example, then the documents as such may just be in a local language or even multiple local languages. And then having some command of that local language may actually be a sheer necessity, even if you're doing the engineering or the modeling or something like this, because you need to be able to check and see what you do and understand whether it's meaningful, and be able to answer to people that are working with this data or want something out of this data, who are thinking in that language in which the data is. Yeah. Of course, you can always try and translate to English and back and forth, but there's lost in translation. So the local language is becoming more important as we progress forward. Okay, next one. I'm showing you this one because it has a GitHub profile link and a code sample link. So this is, of course, obviously something you can also do in your technical skills section, yeah, where you demonstrate your proficiency. This here comes with a lot of the experience in Python, actually academic experience using Python, and then focuses again on data, so data manipulation, then machine learning algorithms, deep learning frameworks, and software practices. So also notice, right? So for the machine learning, it doesn't just say machine learning, but it says machine learning algorithms. So then you have to actually be specific about. And I suppose the clue of the ones that this profile that you're looking at here is that there is a significant number of machine learning algorithms where there's proficiency. So this is interesting for companies that would like to have practitioners that command a variety of models and tools. It also then, of course, is enhanced by the fact that some deep learning frameworks are also familiar to this person. So it kind of makes if you put it added together, it's a profile that aims at showing that this person is good at building machine learning and potentially deep learning solutions. With that come other things like the software practices and the data manipulation, but really the focus is on that. Yet another one here for you. Again, technical skills with Python a lot, SQL, Java, C++. Then for Python, a bit more specificity. And then here, again, machine learning, deep learning, and then as a specialty, robotics. Particularly in Europe, robotics is an interesting field, or it's one of the fields where Europe is doing reasonably well. So it speaks to a role in a company that has robots or use for robotics, right? And then it focuses here on using machine learning algorithms or deep learning tools to do something in the field of robotics, to make a better operating system, and enhance the product, so to speak. Then here is one more, also with machine learning, deep learning, and no, I'm sorry, this is a double. Okay, one more. Again, with a lot of Python, then data and cloud, machine learning, computer vision, and reinforcement learning. So this is somebody who's been in the field for a very long time. This is a highly specialized field. And I'm showing it to you precisely because if you've been in the field for a long time and you're specialized, then it is also credible to claim that you have experience in reinforcement learning that can be productionized, that can be made productive by a company. And this is what this profile here does. So it shows a broad and strong background in data and cloud technologies, and then machine learning, computer vision, reinforcement learning, a focused skill set that is really, really relevant to this. In this case, this particular person is working in the global manufacturing industries. So global manufacturing industry in this case means companies that produce large-scale hardware or are associated with large-scale hardware that drives around on wheels, not cars, the other type. And then to round this off, I want to go back, just to close this off, to the profile that I showed you very first. This is of the person that went to go and work for one of the top 3 companies in the world when it comes to data and AI. And I'm showing you this to, again, say, a short and sweet technical skills description that really shows the main things that you can do is really attractive. It's really attractive because it shows how you're specialized. And the specialization precisely is what separates the experts from the enthusiasts. Yeah? So the enthusiast is likely to hop on to the next new technology. But the problem is if you always hop onto the next new technology, you never get really good at anything. So this short and sweet technical skills profile shows the specialization, shows the expertise, and it makes it so attractive that you're likely to get an offer from one of the top companies in the field. Okay, and with that, I come to a close for today. I wanted to point out, if you want to read more about the stuff that the AI Guild is doing, you can please find our new Medium publication every Monday morning at 8 in the morning Central European time. A new publication goes live. We'll be talking about data careers. We're showing competency profiles of established practitioners. We'll be posting also about profile work you can do on your CV and on your LinkedIn profile. And so if you are interested, please find the Medium publication, subscribe to it, and you'll be notified every Monday morning. And then if you'd like to find out more about the AI Guild, you're not yet a member, for example, or you're not yet following us on LinkedIn, you can do so by finding the AI Guild on LinkedIn. You can, again, subscribe, and you can also sign up. As it says here, you can join as a member, and then through that page, you can sign up on our website and register your interest and have your application vetted. So we are accepting applications from all practitioners in the field. Practitioners means you are actively doing something with data and AI technologies in tech, but potentially also in product or business. So all practitioners, the people that do this every day, they're welcome to join as a member. Okay, I don't on the stream for today have another question. So I would like to thank everybody very much for joining us and have a good day.